All right. What is going on, Los Angeles? What's up, Ramley? Will everyone get in here live after a Rams win? So, it's a win. A win's a win. Back to 2-4 after the bye. Get all into this game. 20-15 final. Rams hold on against the Las Vegas Raiders. But while we wait for people to get in here, Skinny, what's up, brother? How's your Sunday going?
Yeah, it's so much fun. It's covering football is a blast, and that's what I did all day. So watching the Rams, it wasn't always pretty, but on these days, my days are football focused. So I had chicken nuggets for lunch.
Nice. From where? Homemade or?
This is some frozen food. It's a good game day snack. Takes a couple of minutes to heat up, and then I'm back to the game at halftime.
They are, it is good. I had, I DoorDashed Jersey Mike's last night during the USC game, horrible USC game. And, I got the wrong order. The dasher picked up the wrong one, but the only benefit was instead of one sandwich, I got two. So I had one
All
last
right.
night and now I had one this morning. So it wasn't the correct sandwich, but two for the price of one, I guess I'll take it. And I got this Pepsi Zero Sugar, which is not good, but it's free. So
Freeze the right price.
yeah. So
Yeah,
good. Well, everyone come hang out. Let's talk a win here.
You got the 49ers probably dropping down to 3-4, almost certainly, which means the
49ers
NFC West.
Wide
NFC
open.
West
Seahawks,
wide
big
open.
win. And then the Chargers take on the Cardinals tomorrow in Monday Night Football. So Rams fans are going to be Chargers fans tomorrow, which, I know they see them as kind of the little brother, but tomorrow you can all root for Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers. So, all right, well, we can kind of just jump into it. So 20-15, I want to be positive here, Skinny, because a win's a win. You moved to 2-4. Just announced Cooper Kupp will be back on Thursday Night Football against the Vikings. Basically was just extra cautious on a short week to keep him out today. Jordan Whittington, we would assume, will be back as well. Puka Nacua, probably not, but trending better. So getting some reinforcements. But you get the win. That's the important thing. It's the NFL. Every team can beat every team. So there's no you don't take any win for granted. But coming off a bye, there's a lot to be left to be desired, at least offensively, for this team. What was just your overall takeaway from this win?
Yeah, like you're saying, a win is a win, and on the positive side of things, I'm going to say they're trying to weather this storm so that they can get this offense back on track. Now, what we can say definitively is that this current offense is not on track for anything. Whittington was supposed to play today. He was active for the game, but did not hit the field at all. I don't think I saw him out there once. Tyler Johnson was in there, and they kind of figured some things out towards the end of that. But on other positive sides, Kyron Williams is still looking good. So there is life in this offense. Continuing to be really impressed with the development of the defensive line against the pass. I'll say that. So yeah, there's some definite positive things to take away. And like I was saying, just we got to weather this storm. We got to get to a certain week where everything's going to come back together in terms of health. And that's really when this playoff run can be made or broken for this team. It's still precarious. We're trying to get to 10 wins. You got 8 more to go. One fewer games, left to get there. And it's going to be tight all the way down. So those are kind of my overarching thoughts. We can get into the game, I guess, at this point and talk about maybe the negative side of things.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep positive for now. I thought that the defense answered the call early. Thought they let the Raiders move the ball decently, but 4 turnovers. And this Raiders offense, we talked about in the pregame show, like they're not a good offense. This is just not a good team. The Raiders are just not a good team. But you end up you knock out the quarterback, Aiden O'Connell. Gardner Minshew comes in, who started for this team to begin the year, and he was seeing ghosts out there. I give a lot of credit to Chris Shula for the game plan he had, how much pressure, the different looks he was throwing at the Raiders. He had no time back there when you look at what they were able to do in terms of pressure, different stunts, different kind of blitz packages they brought. So I really thought that was good. And the secondary was very opportunistic with all the turnovers that they were able to procure, and obviously clinching the game at the end with the Jalen McCullough third interception of his young season. So that's exciting to see. Quentin Lake, I thought, Captain Lake, another great game, a great game-saving tackle there against it was against Brock Bowers, right, up at the
Sure
goal
was, yeah.
line. I mean, fantastic tackle, shot out of a cannon, and no real explosive plays given up. And when they did let the Raiders drive the field, they buckled down in the red zone and held them to field goals. Hence why they only had 15 points. And that could have been, had they, really bent all the way in the red zone. I mean, they could have put up 30 points and they would have obviously won this game. So, defense I thought looked a lot better, as you would have hoped coming off the bye against this team, but they did their job. The reason the Rams won this game was the defense, which, we haven't been able to say. Obviously, they only had one win anyway, but we haven't been able to say that at all this season. It was the defense that won the game. And so the defense did that. 4 turnovers. That's certainly positive. Now, again, when you look at it, I don't want to be doom and gloom at all. You win the game, you move on to the next. But when you have 4 turnovers and you're playing a Raiders defense that is abysmal outside of Max Crosby, your defense has a scoop and score. So the defense scored 7 points and you only score 13 points as an offense. It's not great. Now, again, you get the win. Awesome. But against better competition, and I will say the positive, the Rams on those turnovers, that's what they scored on. So they capitalized on it. They put it in the end zone when the defense gave them the ball. But outside of that, the offense looked like kind of unfortunately what we've seen all season. Very inconsistent. I did think McVay had some creative play calling that I liked. That jet sweep to Xavier Smith, your boy. That was fun. That was great. Got him around the edge and saw that speed. Tutu Atwell showed some nice stuff. Tyler Johnson showed some nice stuff. Obviously, Kyron Williams with the 2 touchdowns, and he was able to get 21 carries, which is great. But again, you get Blake Corum in there for 1 series. That's it. Doesn't get out of there again. Only 3 carries total. Matthew Stafford looked very pedestrian, and I get the it's a shuffled offensive line. Shout out Justin Dietrich getting his first start, undrafted free agent. There's going to be growing pains with that, but 154 yards and a pick, 14-23, very pedestrian game. So you're seeing the limitations of this offense. Obviously, a lot of that is due to injury. But even with the injuries, you would have hoped to see a little bit more production against arguably the worst defense in football.
Yeah, you're definitely right. And I think, the coach of the year on this staff right now has got to be Ryan Wendell, offensive line coach, doing a phenomenal job across the board. Logan Bruss was a starter there for a little bit, performing much better than apparently what he was looking like in his first couple of seasons. Injuries played a part of that, but he, and then you drop Dedich in there, and this is a true next man up kind of unit, and that's really impressive because they're looking to get a couple of guys back too.
Real quick, I
Yeah.
don't want to cut you off, but just because I pulled it up because the grades are already live. Justin Dietrich finished with a 72.2 grade in this game.
No pressures allowed.
No pressures allowed. First NFL start as an undrafted free agent. Just give a hand for the young USC Trojan. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's a great point to highlight. It is that everybody's performing at a really high level, and it gave this team a chance to win this game. Obviously the offensive line has a lot to do with Kyron Williams' success. He's a great running back in his own right, but obviously they play a part in that. So yeah, shout out to Ryan Wendell, Justin Dedich, Rob Havenstein too. Doing a real good job up against, Max Crosby got home a couple of times, but did a really, really great job with him. Got a penalty called on him because he was trying to get a little bit of extra, maybe a foot and a half of space off the line of scrimmage. But it's frustrating to see this offense stall out, when Matthew Stafford isn't playing at just the insane level where he's just kind of controlling everything. But we're going to see this loosen up. Last year at this kind of similar point, I was saying is the Rams offense a Kyron Williams away from turning it around, and it turns out that was the case, that they were. And I do think that, things are going to look a lot different. Cooper Kupp is going to open up the running game because he's going to be stretching the field a bit more. He's going to, he's going to be a reliable target, much more so than, you know, Tutu Atwell, Xavier Smith, Demarcus Robinson, and Tyler Johnson. All fine receivers, but they're all number threes at best on their best days.
Yeah.
So, it will look a lot different. It's going to feel a lot different. They're going to be playing a much better defense come next Thursday. So
Yeah.
it's going to look a little different, but at least they'll be a bit more competitive. Per next gen stats, I'm kind of jumping around here, but Jared Verse has had his highest pressure rate. He has 9 pressures today. So fantastic.
Keep padding him. Keep stacking him.
Yeah, exactly. So the defensive line is another one. Like I said, though, against the pass, they allowed the Rams' best day on the ground today, all season long. So that's still something that they need to clean up. That's gap integrity. That's Christian Roseboom and Troy Reeder, and they were giving up a lot to Brock Bowers too. There was several passes where they're just kind of on the hashes basically, and Brock Bowers just splits them right between and picks up 10, 15 yards. And going into that final drive, with a guy like Gardner Minshew, he's going to do one of two things: he's going to throw an interception, or he's going to drive the field. There's not a lot of in between, in between with that guy. So I think the defense was able to, going back to those interceptions, it's hard to credit the defense with those interceptions. The sack, the sack fumble, that was all effort play for Kobe Durant, but a lot of those were just those interceptions were on Gardner Minshew. Absolutely 100%.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was jumping around a lot there, but
no, it's good. That's good.
Stream of consciousness.
The Raiders team actually outgained the Rams. Total 317 yards to the Rams 259 yards. And so they were able to move the ball, but like I said, the defense did a really good job of turning the ball over and then B, clamping down in the red zone and holding the field goals. But this Rams offense, man, there's something do you think just purely the injuries? They just don't have the talent on the outside? Because when you look at it, the offensive line seemingly did pretty well. I mean, they only gave up 6 pressures today, 6 total pressures by the offensive line, with two rookies, one a late round and one an undrafted rookie against, I know obviously Christian Wilkins, the big interior guy for the Raiders, is out. So it was basically Max Crosby and a bunch of dudes, but still, I mean, they're playing NFL. That's pretty good. Matthew Stafford was seemingly kept pretty upright. Vice versa, just again jumping around, Rams defense 18 pressures. I mean, so Chris Shula was dialing it up, and those guys were getting after Minshew. So I love seeing that. But there just seems something, and I don't know if it I don't want to be overly harsh on him because of who he's throwing it to, but it just seems like Stafford, there's something not totally right now. And I'm not saying injury wise, I'm not saying anything like that. And so maybe it purely is just they don't have the talent. I mean, obviously we haven't really talked about it, but no Tyler Higbee. He's on PUP since his torn ACL and MCL, whatever, in the playoff game, and probably won't even be back till December. And so we've talked about the lack of kind of the tight end talent, Colby Parkinson being a blocking tight end, Davis Allen, they haven't really put into that passing role like we'd hoped they would. But then now with Whittington missing today too, I mean, he's basically taken that wide receiver 3 role. I mean, he led all receivers last game against the Packers. And so you basically have wide receiver 4, 5, and 6 as your 1, 2, 3. So do you think, is it simply that just the talent on the outside is not good enough? Or is something with Stafford maybe not all there? I mean, again, 154 and an interception. That was a stat line against a bad Raiders secondary.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely looked off on some of his throws. I mean, there were some that he sailed. Obviously the interception there, and then some he dirted in front of the receivers and things like that. And it could be a health thing. I mean, he has been getting hit a lot. I haven't checked on that statistic for a little while, but he was up in the top 5 of the quarterbacks that were hit the most in the league. So there could be something there, and we know he's a tough guy, and he's always going to try to get out on the field. But let me tell you what, if these receivers can't get open against this secondary, it's the receivers. You're looking at a bunch of nobodies on this sorry, Raiders fans, but you know what I'm talking about. Nate
Yeah,
Hobbs,
Trevor Moore
Jack
is like,
Jones, Jacorian Bennett. You know, these are not these aren't the Patrick Surtains of the world. So if they're struggling to get open against these guys, you know, they're not it. These receivers are threes. They're good options, you know, in that way. But yeah, it's not happening. And yeah, I think you know, I think across the board, it's just a health issue. I mean, if they can, um, you know, get this offensive line performing to a place that they were supposed to be at, which is let's say, you know, top 5 unit in the league, if not better than that. That's where they
mhm.
wanted this unit to be. That'll be what truly unlocks the offense. Couple improve it. He's going to provide all sorts of options. He's going to open up things for Kyron Williams, like I was saying. But yeah, I'm not satisfied with the receiver play right now.
Yeah, I think that's, you know, I don't think Stafford has looked his best, but I think it's more so you got to look who he's throwing the ball to, and you know, got to give credit to Stafford for what he's kind of kept this team and getting this win, and whatnot. But I think he can be better. Obviously, whether it's age, you know, every quarterback kind of starts to hit that wall, right? And maybe he's starting to get to that. I don't know. Um, but I think it really boils down to, like you said, it's got to be the receiver play. And I mean, these are 4, 5, and 6 now having to be wide receiver 1, 2, and 3. So, but with that being said, that's where, I mean, you've got to find a way to move the ball. And Kyron Williams, obviously, he is the offense right now. Kyron Williams is the offense. And he had 21 carries. I'm not saying McVay did just abandon the run and didn't utilize him. I mean, 21 carries is in a McVay offense for one running back to get. That's quite a few bell cow touches right there. And how many catches did he have? He did not have any catches. So I think utilizing him in the passing game maybe more, just getting the ball in his hand as much as possible, because right now he is the offense. Now, Kupp will be back on Thursday, as mentioned. Nakua will be back soon. But again, this Vikings defense now, I don't think PFF has their grades done for that game. I know they lost by 1 point, but Detroit has arguably the best offensive line in football, and they were in Jared Goff's face all afternoon. And Jared Goff, obviously not the most fleet of foot quarterback, but at his age, neither is Matthew Stafford. And so while this offensive line has improved, and as you said, Ryan Wendell deserves a bouquet of flowers for what they're having to do shuffling with young players. But going up against the Raiders offensive line and Brian Flores and the Vikings defense, which we'll preview later in the week, but it's going to be a whole different animal. So what kind of game plan is McVay going to have? Because 154 yards and a pick from Stafford is not going to beat the Vikings. It's just not going to happen. So we have all week to kind of game plan for that and preview it. But you know, those were the only why I'm not trying to sound negative, but that's why coming out of this game is like we would have hoped to seen a little bit more progress in the offensive production, because they're now going up against arguably the best defense in football in the Vikings, for sure, top 5, and didn't look very good today against arguably the worst defense. But hey, win's a win, baby. 2-4.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to shout out, you know, something that the defense did that I was kind of keeping my eye on, which was how often is Brock Bowers forced to be in line to add protection for Gardner, and he was in line for the second most amount of snaps all season long. So that means he wasn't able to go out wide or into the slot, which is where he's able to really make teams pay. So only the Cleveland Browns, who have a fantastic defense, fantastic secondary, were able to make him go in line. And that was all Jared Verse and all those guys getting pressures, forcing him to help out in the blocking game. So kudos for that. He ate. I mean, he had a good day, but it wasn't anything crazy. What's up, Jason?
Yeah. What a big Jason.
Yeah, I was surprised by Whittington wasn't either. He would have definitely helped this wide receiver group for sure. No doubt about it.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of, which you don't do this in an NFL game because you can lose any game, and they almost did lose this game, but the only thing I can think of is because they jumped out to like an early lead. Maybe they thought like, let's just preserve him so he's fully healthy by Thursday when we're going to really need him. But again, you don't really do that in an NFL game because, you can lose any game, any given Sunday, and they almost did lose. So if that would have been the case and they would have lost, then that would have looked real bad. But yeah, unless he was just not quite good enough where they felt he was actually going to benefit the offense. But certainly missed, which shows where this offense is when a 6th-round rookie is missed dearly against a bad defense. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll say this about Cooper Kupp. The Rams were 2 for 10 on 3rd downs today, and 0 for 1 on 4th down. And that's those are huge difference making times, and that's where a guy like Cooper Kupp or Jordan Whittington can pick up a couple of extra first downs in those situations. And that's this is exactly where the Rams are being beat this year. Is they've been unable to make those difference making plays. And that's what separates a guy like Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua from even Jordan Whittington. I'll say that is like when you need them, that's what makes stars is they make those plays. They give that little extra effort, or they make the right decision to, take the leverage this way or that way. And that's where Cooper Kupp is going to be a huge difference maker. But I think what were your thoughts on it? It seems like to me that McVay always has to be talked into running the ball again. In the first half, it seemed like he just wanted to sling it around and didn't understand that he had such limitations with the receivers on the field, that he thought that Matthew Stafford could just, light the world on fire. And Kyron Williams is back to being in a doghouse for some reason. And it's just so uneven. And then once they get that interception at the 47, it's a 4-play drive, and 3 of them are to Kyron Williams, and he's the one that able to rush that in. So it's always just so perplexing to me, that kind of play calling, and even that game management. That decision to challenge that weird run.
That looked like he may have tapped his knee down for a loss, but ended up gaining 6 yards. But at the end of the day, it's 6 yards. Why waste the challenge? But Sean McVay and Lincoln Riley must just sit around at night just scheming up how they can throw the ball more than everyone else or something, because they both do the exact same thing. Like watching their games is like watching mirror images. It's I know fans hate it because same with USC, and obviously this is a Rams show, but I mean they'll be running the ball great, and then all of a sudden they have 5 straight passes and 3 incompletions and punt, and it's like, well, Woody Marks is running great, and the Rams are just the same, and obviously they're buddies and know each other. So I'm joking, but it is always interesting. We talk about it, I think, every week, but this was a bad defense and a really bad rush defense, as we had Matt Chadwick on as a guest last week, and he said they're one of the lowest graded rush against the rush defenses in all of football, especially with Kristen Wilkins being out. So I mean that. You would think, and again, they did run the ball 26 total times at the end of the day. At the total number, 21 official? For Kyron, 2 for Xavier Smith, and then I don't count Stafford.
2 scrambles right now.
Yeah, so 26. I never count the QB runs unless you're like a Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson or something. But so I mean, it's perplexing. It's one of those that we talk about every week, and I think it's at the point. Obviously, we're running a podcast, so we're going to talk about it, but it's at the point this is year 8. McVay, this is who he is, and this is the type of offense he calls. Everyone just needs to accept it's not going to be a run-heavy team.
but I feel like the plan was to.
But you're right. The offseason looked like it was going to be we are running, and obviously that changed a little bit when you lose your 2 big offensive linemen, but still,
stick with the plan.
Yeah.
Jason, we touched on Didich a little bit earlier, and he had a fantastic day. PFF has 0 pressures associated with him. So, and most of the pressure was coming on the right side because that's where Max Crosby lines up 95% of the time. So,
and he's going to get pressure on everyone. I don't care who you are. So that's no fault to Rob Havenstein. Max Crosby's just that good. Guys like that, you just figure out how do we game plan away from him and how do we limit the damage he can create. And I thought they did a good job of that overall. They ran to the left a lot more, obviously. I think both his touchdowns were to the left side, with Parkinson kind of cheating in as well as the inline tight end and running between either Parkinson and Jackson or between Jackson and Didich. So they did well at that. One other thing I thought that I did like that McVay did a few times in terms of formation. Did you notice they had a few times where they would line Kyron Williams up almost directly behind Dedich, like almost obviously not on the line of scrimmage, he's off, but like just
Yeah.
lining up behind Dedich basically to pick up that extra either blitzer or be able to run, through the line if they want to do a short screen press. So I did like that play design. It was kind of like having an extra tight end in there in a way, but your running back is just close to the line of scrimmage. So that was nice.
Yeah. I'm glad you noticed that. I was going to bring that up as well. Sometimes the guy making his first start, the undrafted free agent, has to get a little extra help. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad they offered to that to him. And perhaps that was part of the weird play calling, was that knowing that Max Crosby was going to be on that right side, just kind of attracting so much attention. That's the side they prefer to run to, and that's the side that they are better at running to. So, maybe that affected his decision making. But regardless, your best playmaker right now is Kyron Williams, and you got to get the ball in his hands more and not throwing to him. And just kind of going back to one of those McVay things, it's like you can throw to other running backs that aren't named Todd Gurley. That's okay. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
It is. We've said that a lot, but it is weird because he's so dynamic, period, with the ball that it is like, again, I don't know the targets. Maybe he did have a couple. I'm trying to think back, but no catches for Kyron, and he is the offense right now. Like, I mean, that's a little surprising that they haven't done that. And used him, as you just mentioned, like Todd Gurley more, because Todd Gurley was, I mean, he was an extension of the passing game, he was used in the passing game as an extension of the running game. So if he had only 15 carries, he probably had 5 or 6 catches to get to him that 20, 21, 22 touch total. And even like, I'll bring up USC, even Lincoln Riley, for some of his faults, like he utilizes the screen game as an extension of the run game. And you see, I mean, Woody Marks has 50, obviously not all with the Trojans, but he has like 53 straight games with a catch. Like they utilize their backs in the passing game a lot in screens, and even some of the receivers and tight ends. And so I'm a little surprised that McVay hasn't used Kyron Williams more in that regard, or maybe he has called the plays. We're not in the huddle, and maybe Stafford's checked out of it or doesn't take the check down. We know Stafford is like a gunslinger. Like he wants to push the ball, which I think is why fans love him, why we love him. He's a quarterback that wants to take that shot. And, but with the receiving core they have, sometimes it's like, just take your check down, just take your easy, even if it only goes for 3-4 yards, take the positive play instead of the incompletion. So against the Vikings, which again, we'll talk about in the week, but they're going to have to utilize those short yardage stuff because the pressure is going to be coming quick and they're not going to have time for any of these long developing plays. And so I would expect a lot of Cooper Kupp short out routes, which is what his bread and butter is. And hopefully Kyron Williams involved in the passing game. I mean, that's going to be what they're going to have to do.
Yeah. So through the first 5 games, Kyron Williams has 14 catches for 71 yards. Which seems like it might be weighted because he didn't get, I don't think he had a target today. I don't think he had a target in week 4 either, or week 5 rather. But
yeah,
questions for other days. But
yeah, I don't I don't remember that either. Let's see here. Not that I'm saying you're wrong. I'm just going to look as well.
yeah.
So he had one catch. He had one catch against Green Bay for 3 yards.
Yeah.
He had 4 against Chicago. 4 against Chicago and 4 against Arizona were his 2 biggest games.
Okay.
But 4 catches for 10 yards. So nothing to write home about with that.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So I mean, definitely doesn't hurt the playoff chances. Picking this game up.
Yeah. I mean, we said it was a must win. They got it done.
Yeah, absolutely.
They got to stack them. I mean, we're sitting on here live. We got time to prepare. But do you think, I mean, these next 2, Vikings, Seahawks, do they go into the trade deadline sitting at 4-4?
4-4
They played today. I'll say that.
Oh man.
Well, yeah, if they beat the Vikings and the Seahawks, they'd be 4-4.
Yeah, that's true. I guess that's true.
Just simple math.
Yeah. 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 I have a hard time seeing them get past the Vikings defense. And they got a really good running back in their backfield right now. So
really good receivers.
Really good receivers. I saw that their defenses are playing them man pressure or man coverage at like one of the highest rates in the league. And when you have receivers like Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, you can't do that. They're going to beat
Yeah.
you. They're going
Yeah,
to
unless
beat
you
you.
have like 3 Pat Surtains in the back end. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's
So
the other thing, again, not doom and gloom, but like, I mean, look at who outside of Brock Bowers, look at who the Raiders were throwing to.
yeah. Yeah.
It's gonna be
And
quite
they're
a talent uptick next week.
and Alexander Madison is a fine back, but like he's not do they sorry, I'm asking a stupid question. They have Josh Jacobs right now, right?
The
No,
Vikings,
no, they have Aaron Jones. Sorry. Josh Jacobs went to the Packers. There we go.
Packers, yes.
I'm all
Yeah.
caught up now. Thanks for waiting for me, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, end of the day, you chalk up the win, you move on and you improve. And that's, that's the important thing. We said this was a season. I don't know if defining is the right word, but basically a season saving game. You win, you keep stacking, you improve, you get healthy. You lose, you might be talking about blowing it all up. So they got the win, so they can keep focusing on here and now in this season, and waiting on the blow up for farther down the line, which is good. That's what we wanted.
Yeah. So before we head out, let's take a look at the next 4 games, we'll say, and pick a record. So we got Seahawks or Vikings, Seahawks, Dolphins, Patriots. I mean, that's at least 2 wins in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to say the Vikings is a loss.
I think that's fair.
Seattle's beatable.
Yeah. Division game. Anyone can win that. Hopefully Nagu is back by then. He's like the Seahawks slayer.
So we're looking at 2 and 5. Let's say 3 and 5.
5 and
Seahawks 5 and 5. Back to 500. Going. The Eagles coming to see us here in LA on 11/24, November 24th. So that's. Ooh. I mean that's a pretty good place to be. Then you look at those next 4 games: Eagles, Saints, Bills, Niners. Niners are a complete mystery at this point. Bills. I'm going to chalk that up as a loss. Saints is a win. Eagles, that's a toss-up too. Coming out of that 500, though. That's not good enough, though. I don't think that's good enough.
But a lot of teams, I think that 2-3 weeks ago, we thought, ooh, that's going to be a tough game, are now not looking the case. Like, I mean, remember 2 games into the season, the Saints look otherworldly. And now Saints are bottom 3 teams in the NFL. The Eagles are very beatable. I mean, they're kind of an up and down, strange team. And so I think that this back into the schedule actually is a lot more formidable than maybe we would have thought 3 weeks ago or so. So, is this next stretch of 4 decides the season, as you said. Like if they can go 3-1 with just the loss to the Vikings, so that puts them at 5-5, then this team I think has a real shot. If they drop one of those games to a beatable team, then it might be all she wrote.
And then that second 4, that second stretch of 4 games, if they go 500, they have to run the table to exit the season to get to 10 wins. So that's the Jets, Cardinals, and Seahawks, which, I mean, there is still a path to 10 wins here. There's still a path to playoffs. And the NFC is so strange. It could be 9. It could be 9 that gets you in.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally the NFC North, and then no one else is good in the NFC. I mean, it's literally the NFC North is really good, and everyone else is not. So
Happy Gilmore, thank you for showing up for us. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Love that.
How about this this old chestnut?
I think
Stafford for?
We're getting a preview this Thursday. I think Stafford of the Vikings for Darnold and a pick.
There you go.
That's
Giants.
our preview.
No? Giants is another one that was intriguing. I don't know.
Giants feel like, to me, they would have to include Daniel Jones in the trade because of his contract. And if you're the Rams, why the hell would you want Daniel Jones as a contract if you're trading Stafford to rebuild? You're not rebuilding around Daniel Jones, in my opinion. I think he would be better with McVay than he is in New York right now, but I think we've seen enough that he's not like a dude to build a franchise around. So unless there's some crazy like way that they can not include him and somehow the Giants can afford both crazy contracts, then to me, Giants wouldn't make sense because like, why would you want Jones back in that deal?
Yeah, so you're way better at like the hypothetical trade situations than I am. So I'll ask you this specific question: What's what would be the ideal, like the best case, realistic scenario that's in your mind?
Like trade scenario.
Yeah,
To me, it really is the Vikings. Like I think you
for,
get
for
Darnold and like a second or third round pick because
oh,
you
okay,
get a second or third round pick, and Darnold's still only 27 years old, has looked definitely serviceable, is running the same system that he would here in LA under Kevin O'Connell. Comes back home to LA where he's from, played at USC, and you can get him. You can, I mean, he's on a 1 year deal, so you're taking on his what is the remaining 5 million of his contract this year, and then you can either re-sign him next year to like a 2 or 3 year prove it deal, or you just say, well, we got a pick out of it. We got a serviceable QB, and now we just hit the draft hard and draft our QB of the future. Or you can do it anyway. You can still give Darnold a 2 or 3 year deal on your terms because his deal's expiring. You still draft a quarterback next year, and then you're kind of building from there. So to me, that's the best case scenario. Because again, even the Miami one, like they just paid Tua. Like you don't want Tua back with his injury. What's going on with him and
yeah,
Dolphins? I don't think can take Stafford and Tua. So the only other option to me is really like the Steelers. I mean, you don't want Fields or Russ, maybe Fields,
yeah,
like he's young still, so maybe you could see what you could get out of him. But to me, the
yeah.
Vikings are,
It's the most confusing portion of whatever version of their team building strategy it is right now. Is there's no contingency for Stafford, who's an aging quarterback who's closer to the end than the beginning. The
yeah.
old strategy was we're building around our three load bearing walls, I think is what Les Snead called them, and that was Cup, Stafford, and Donald. And Donald's gone. New strategy. It's got to be a new strategy. We saw kind of a glimpse of kind of what they were trying to do with their offseason moves, adding all the offensive linemen.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still kind of a head scratcher because if this season doesn't work out, are we running it back with Cup again? I don't know. I have a hard time saying yes to that proposition.
Who?
Then if you what's that?
No, keep going. I had a question for
Oh,
you, but finish. I don't want
oh,
to cut you off. Sorry.
then you look at who you can build around, and you got a nice defensive front kind of looking with Kobe Turner, Jared Verse, and those other guys. Those are the two guys you're really building around, and then Puka Nakua on the other side. Stafford's days are numbered. Coop's days are numbered. Another less need aphorism is if it's inevitable, make it immediate.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an inevitability about Stafford right now,
Yeah.
where and they're looking at him as a year to year guy though. They know he's not the long term option, even in a 2-3 years down the line kind of view of it. And they at some point you either have to tank and get a nice high pick, or come up with a contingency plan through a trade or free agency or something for a new quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where they sit right now in the questions. And, who do you, and again, if they start running the table, this is all moot for this year because we've said many times, like if they get to 5-5, like they're still all in on this year at the trade deadline, and I wouldn't be surprised if they trade for someone to go all in again. But if they drop some of these and are 2-7 or whatever, then that's where this becomes real. Who do you think is more expendable, or I think probably either are equally expendable. But who has more value, I guess, Cup or Stafford, or both equally?
Stafford has more value right now, just because of the nature of the position that he plays. And I think I hate to say it, but I think Cooper Cup is another injury away from just being cooked.
Yeah.
You can't keep sustain. You can't play the kind of style of game he plays, and be as fragile as he is. And these injuries have continued to mount, and he's had a hard time staying healthy even in his younger years because of how hard he plays. And that's what makes him him, and you can't really take that away from him. And he's not a Justin Jefferson type. He's not a Jamar Chase. He's a different animal. So, you know, you you could conceivably see Matthew Stafford playing at a high level for another 1 to 2 years, and I just have a harder time seeing that for Cup. Even though I hate saying that, I think that's the reality of the situation.
Yeah, it feels right. And I think the interesting thing too is, the defense is already in a rebuild. So I mean, they're already half the team is already in a rebuild, and they've done a good job. They've drafted really well. I mean, you look at the youth of that defense and the week over week improvement, and there's still obviously red flags and issues as we've talked about, and that's expected for how young not just their defense is, but their defensive coordinator first time. So you already have accepted a rebuild for half your unit. And then the thought was the offense will be so good that we can deal with this rebuild and get by. And the offense has been so bad that it's been the opposite, unfortunately. And obviously a lot of that's due to injuries. So that's where it gets to the point is like, okay, because I know a lot of people don't want to rebuild. Well, they're already in a rebuild on defense. It's like, do you just say, okay, let's just fully rebuild, embrace the full rebuild on offense as well? Or can we get enough out of this to still make some noise and go on a run here? And I mean, that's what we'll see over the next 3 to 4 weeks. I mean, the trade deadline's less than that. Trade deadline's only 2 weeks away.
November 5th, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. So they get 2 games before the trade deadline. And that's like, well, they'll basically these 2 games. Okay. So let's say this then: lose the Vikings, beat the Seahawks. So you're 3-5. What are you doing at the trade deadline at 3-5?
How about this one? I just came up with it. Matthew Stafford for Dak Prescott. Huh?
I mean,
I don't know. Dallas is just crazy enough to do something like that, and they think they're really good. So maybe they're trying to get back on track. I don't know.
Stafford's from Dallas, right? He's from Texas.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I think if you win that Seattle game, I think that gives you enough hope to keep trucking. And they're going to continue to get better offensively. So those later games against like teams like the Bills and the Eagles, they can look a lot different. With Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp in the lineup, and that's not outside of the outside of reality. Puka's timeline kind of looking like that Seattle game to come back, or maybe the game after that. So, yeah, I think there's still definitely hope that they could make that run, but that's the Seattle game. We've been saying it for a couple of weeks now. That Seattle game is kind of a telltale sign that they got to win that one. They got to win.
Yeah. I mean, ideally you win these next 2, but if you don't win at least one of these 2, then it's kind of like, all right, let's start making some phone calls and see. And there's been reports that teams have already called about Kupp. There's been calls for Kupp. Don't know what the value is, but there's been calls. And again, Stafford, as we kind of talked about the last few weeks, like there's not many teams actually that would make sense. And so there might not be as much of a market for a trade for him as in years past, because there's not that contending team that is a quarterback away that really needs it outside of maybe a Minnesota or Pittsburgh. But Minnesota's looked pretty good with Sam Darnold, obviously, and Pittsburgh would be the biggest one that they're like, they have not won those games because of quarterback play. And obviously Russ is getting his first start tomorrow of the season. So we'll see what Russ looks like there. But I think you can say the Vikings, as good as their defense is, Darnold has actually played really well as well. So, so we'll see. Hopefully they win. Hopefully they just win them both, and we just carry on for the season and have a late push. I mean, 3-6 last year, baby, won 10 games. So you never know.
Yeah, if they can pull this off against the Vikings, and I've been saying it for weeks that Sam Darnold is going to lay an egg at some point. I'll keep saying it, even if I'm wrong. I was saying the same thing about Russell Wilson for a long, long time, but that didn't happen for several seasons. But yeah, I mean, a bad Sam Darnold game and a great Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford game. That's a winnable game right there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
run through the legs of the Giants, baby.
Yeah, we shall see. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up? Thanks everyone for hanging out.
Now let's get the heck out of here.
All right. Well, hey, thanks everyone. Rams do get the win, 20-15, move to 2-4 in the season. A big one this Thursday against the Minnesota Vikings. For all you Angelinos and Angelino fans, go Dodgers. Game just started, bottom of the first inning. 2 outs right now, trying to get out of that with a runner on third. If anyone's curious with my play-by-play there.
Nice
Did the
job.
Dodgers win tonight? Did they go to the World Series?
I think that's the case. Yeah, Yankees
Yeah.
Yankees World Series. I wish I could pay more attention to more sports, but
Oh, and the
yeah,
Dodgers
yep,
gave up a run in
yeah.
the first inning. Yeah, I
East Coast
predicted
versus
they'd
West Coast.
I predicted they win game 4 in New York, lose game 5, and then clinch tonight in LA. But we'll see. They're down 1-0 with a guy on second early. But at home, and they won't have to change their travel plans considering they were playing the Mets in New York, and then if they win, they'll play the Yankees in New York. Just a different ballpark. So
There you go.
but hey, we're starting to have Dodgers coverage on LAFB. So all you Rams fans that are Dodger fans, we are starting our Dodgers coverage, starting Lakers coverage, Clippers coverage, and soon we'll have all major LA sports. So um, everything LA sports is at LAFB. But thank you, Jason. As always, always appreciate your support. Everyone that was in here, appreciate that. And hey, Rams win 2-4. We're on to the next Thursday night, but we'll be back early in the week for another show, and then we'll do our preview show. I guess we got to do our preview show early since maybe we'll just
Yeah,
go live Thursday, like afternoon. Maybe we'll do a live Thursday preview show.
that'd be
Might be
fun.
easier. Yeah, we'll figure it out. But yeah, we'll have a preview. What is this about? Oh, because I said I look like that. The Hot Ones.
Hot ones.
Um,
Yeah,
what's his name again?
I can't remember.
Something. It's Ryan something. There's Sean something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um,
Did you see Jason's mock-up where he put me in as Robert Downey Jr.? I thought it looked a lot like him.
You always look so much better in those mock-ups. Mine, I don't know if my face is actually that funny looking or that just I only fit my features maybe because I always just look ridiculous in all those. And you
Go
always look
check out
like
our
better.
Twitter page and look at these masterpieces by Jason.
Yeah, I know. Hilarious. So always love that. But all right, well, let's get out of here. Appreciate you guys. Great Rams win. Go Dodgers. Everyone enjoy your Sunday. Skinny, thank you as always. And we'll talk to everyone here in just a couple days.